What's up YouTube? So today's video is going to be about the top 5 most important mirror items that are usually made at the start of any league start. Now the reason why I'm making this video is because we've been trying to make the 12 link claw, the 11 link wand, and we have a pretty good +1 power charge ring with LE weakness with another power charge on the actual affixes. So a +2 power charge LE weakness ring currently being made. So because of all these items, I wanted to kind of help out people, enlighten people maybe about some of the cool items that are made every single league at the start of the league. But these are pretty much the items that all the crafters will go for. Now, a lot of people have different goals in the game, right? Some people like to make mirror items. Some people like to get first level 100. Some people like to kill all of the bosses in SSF hardcore first. So everyone has a different idea of what's fun. And this is what's fun for a lot of people. I do think that this is the best part about softcore trade, is pretty much competing for mirror items and making mirror items, but it does require a lot of time investment and a lot of gambling in currency. So this is like the only competitive aspect I think in softcore trade, is making different mirror items. But let's get straight into it, because these items are the ones that you'll see every single league, and it is kind of dictated by the meta, but these are the ones that get made every league. So first off, we have the minion helmet, and this is actually a helmet that Gazzy almost always goes for. He actually has a clip of it where some guy actually destroys the suffixes because he did reforge keep prefix instead of reforge keep suffix or something like that. So basically, this helmet is your standard minion affair. I think it's for like summon skeletons or something, because it has the skeletons deal 40% increased damage enchant. Now this helmet has the same suffixes as an elemental damage one. So if you have an elemental spell that has AoE tagged, you will use the same suffixes of Socket of Gems deal 30% more LA damage, Spell Crit, and Hypothermia. But instead of the minion damage, you'll have Conk Effect. And instead of the +3 level of Socket of Minion Gems, you'll have +2 AoE. So this is like kind of similar. And these are pretty much all of these pseudo-link helmets. They always start off with Hypothermia, Socket of Gems 30% more, and then Spell or Attack Crit with the % crit chance. Now, this helmet is fairly deterministic to make. It is mainly made by spamming essences until you get Hypothermia, and then you have to get another influence mod on it, and then you have to gamble to elevate to hit level 25, and then you can do Reforge crit to get the spell crit. But there's also, I think, an attack crit mod, so it's like a 50-50. And then after that, you have to do Reforge keep suffixes in order to get minion damage and minion gems. And then lastly, you can craft it on. So there's a lot of gambling, a lot of points of failure. But once you finish the suffixes, it's a lot easier. Now, this helmet is the most mirrored item on the TFT shop currently from what I've seen. And there's just a bunch of minion players who have a lot of money, because minion players are one of the first people to be able to do simulacrum somewhat consistently. They can get to wave 25, 26, make a lot of money through pretty much just leveling up gems. And they have a lot of money. And what do they want to do? They want to get a helmet that increases their damage as much as possible. And this helmet is the one. So lots of mirror copies early on. It kind of falls off later on, but definitely a very top priority helmet to make. Next up, we have the classic, the in-stacking wand. And this was actually one of the first items in the TFT shop. And it's almost always made pretty early on. Now, there's a traditional variant, and then there's the 11 link variant. So currently, we are trying to make the 11 link variant. Now, the reason why it's an 11 link is because the in-stacking mod is not really counted as a link. So the traditional variant just has T1 lightning damage, the in-stacking mod, and the % spell damage per 60 int, which gets scaled off of Crown of Eyes. And then it has T1 attack speed, 7% chance to deal double damage with the Unveil, and then the crafted crit and strengthen int. Now this item might be a lot easier to make than usual. A lot of these mirror tier items might be easier to make. Even this helmet could be easier to make if you use the recombining method. Recombining pretty much means that you can guarantee 3 prefixes or 3 suffixes fairly easily, but you still have to do a lot of recombining. But it is a lot easier to recombine these prefixes or suffixes than it is to actually craft it out. Now, this traditional in-stacking wand almost gets a few copies before people transition to mirroring the 11 link variant. Now, people use the 11 link variant because the damage difference is pretty vast. I think last time I checked it in PoB, I think it's like a 40 to 50% more damage if you use the 11 link wand with a Squire. Now, I do think that the 11 link wand will see a lot of mirror copies along with the traditional in-stacking wand, because of this new big brain MTX. This new Big Brain MTX scales your intelligence or your brain size of how much int your character has. So it actually looks super, super sick at the highest level. So I actually think a lot of people will end up mirroring this wand. Now, this wand is incredibly hard to make. Wands are usually one of the hardest items to make because they have both Fizz mods and Caster mods. So you pretty much have double the pool of mods to craft from. Next up, we have, I think these two are actually the most mirrored items in the league, and these are Path of Math's bow, and anyone can pretty much make these bows, but these are the physical and elemental variant of the bows. Now, the number one thing you'll notice from these bows is that they're both synthesized, and what do they have on the synthesis mod? They have bow attacks, fire, and additional arrow, and this one has bow attacks, fire, and additional arrow. Now, both of these have triple T1 prefix. Now, the triple T1 prefix for the elemental version is just all flat LE rolls. The triple T1 prefix for the fizz version is flat fizz, fizz percent, and hybrid fizz. Now, for the suffixes, both of them have bow attacks fire 2 additional arrows. Now, for 2 additional arrows, you actually need the bow to be eye level 86. And most of the times, the additional arrows is done through prefixes cannot be changed, reforge attack. And then once you get 1 additional arrow, you do prefixes cannot be changed, reforge more likely. And I think it's a 1 in 16 chance to hit 2 additional arrows. So it costs a lot on the suffixes. But this craft is fairly doable. It just costs a lot and lots of currency. And the prefixes, I think nowadays you might need to gamble recombining. So you might have to lose your bow base, because getting triple T1 prefix on Fizz is a near impossibility unless you get extremely, extremely lucky. Now, the Fizz version, you might notice, actually has crit chance, and the Elemental version doesn't have any. This is because the Elemental version is mainly for Secrets of Suffering, which relies on Brittle to cap out the crit. Now, you will notice the Fizz version has 17 copies currently, according to Path of Math, and the Elemental version has 10 copies. And I do think that most people would prefer the Fizz version because they like shattering. I think that's one of the biggest things about why people like Raider Lightning Strike or Champion Lightning Strike over Berserker, purely because the shattering sound just feels too good, and Fizz also scales a bit better with Headhunter and Inspired Learning buffs due to how many Fizz's extra LE there are and Fizz conversion nodes. So very, very important bow to make. Now, eventually both these bows will probably be beat because the base of Synthesis base is not good enough. Because in the long run, there will be another bow that pops up with bow attacks, fired additional arrow, and then like projectile speed or attack speed or another mod that is actually useful. Now, next up, we have the claw that we're actually working on, and this is a 12-link claw. Now, 12-link claw is an item that a lot of people like because Lightning Strike is pretty popular, right? And the only way to get Lightning Strike to have insane amounts of damage and 500 mil plus DPS roughly is to use the 12-link claw. Now, the 12-link claw also allows you to use a lot of different attack skills. The main thing for the claw that you need to focus on is that your attack skill need to benefit from multi-strike and ruthless, right? So you can't really use Venom Jar with this or Spectral Throw because those skills don't actually benefit from all of the links. Now, this claw is made with pretty much finishing off the prefixes, and then the suffixes are where it's going to be hard. You pretty much reforge crit with prefixes cannot be changed to get crit damage. And then you have to aug influence or remove non-influence, add influence, try to hit crit strikes or multi-strike. And then you have to gamble again to get aug influence to get multi-strike or crit damage, vice versa, depending on which one you hit. So it's pretty much like trying to hit a 5% roll and then trying to hit another roll that's like 2%. So it's very, very difficult. I don't know if there's a different crafting method with recombining. You could technically recombine claws with 5 overlapping mods and pray that it works and that none of them get downgraded. But extremely difficult and extremely RNG to get this claw crafted. And a lot of times, depending on which claw gets mirrored, is a lot of times which level the support gems are. So this one is actually a perfect one. I think Path of Math made this one. It's all level 20, so it's level 20 crit strike, level 20 ruthless, level 20 multi-strike, level 20 crit damage, and level 20 elemental damage with attacks. Usually it's the suffixes that matter because you'll have the perfect prefix base. And this claw is insane. I think it will get mirrored a lot more this league purely because a lot of people need the damage. If you actually ever did a 100% deli with Sentinel on it, you will know that even 100 mil DPS is not enough to kill some of the rares or magic monsters. They're actually tankier than Uber Maven. or uber elder. But next up, we have the 8-link gloves, and I do think that this item is pretty cool because it's used for Spark or KB, and they're very similar crafts. So by now, you might notice a common theme is that pseudo links on your items is king. So what this 8-link gloves does is it allows you to get maximum crit with the Socket of Gems as spell crit, or attack crit, or just regular crit in general. And then you can get high crit multi with Socket of Spells that have crit multi. And then it allows you to get projectile speed for Spark on the faster projectiles. And if you really want damage, you can get this level 25 slower projectiles. But a lot of people don't like the slower projectiles because it's actually technically a DPS loss for Spark. Now, this is pretty much done through spamming essences with the crit essence on the gloves. So it's very similar to making the helmet, but it's just a little bit different in the sense of which essences you use. Now, a lot of the reason why you want to use this pair of gloves for Spark is that this actually allows you to use your chest for auras, that you can get +1 int gems on your chest. And then with the new Awakened Enlightened gem, you can actually get level 6 Enlightened linked to 5 50% auras, which should be insane in helping out your aura stacker be as strong as possible and helping out your reservation efficiency issues. Now, faster projectiles is a huge benefit in the clear speed, and there are different variants of the gloves without the faster projectiles. Now, this pair of gloves can also be adopted for the kinetic blast variant. A lot of people do use kinetic blast in the gloves, and then their power siphon in their chest or wand. Now, for the kinetic blast gloves, you would have the same role here. Socketed gems have 3.5% crit chance, except this is socketed attacks have 90% multi. And then instead of the cast speed mod, you will have T1 int, and then you'll have +2 projectile gems with the Ashling. So very, very good item deal, though these are both mirrored all the time, and they do help out most builds by giving them a huge power spike. But overall, all of these items, if you hit any of them or if you decide to craft one and you're the only one who has one up, for mirror service, it will provide you with generational wealth for the rest of the league. You can literally just sit there, not play the game at all, and collect mirror services and make more than you could ever make by playing. But the investment level is huge, where you can easily spend mirrors upon mirrors making any of these items. Last league, or in one of the leagues that this item first came out, I think one of the crafters spent over, I think, 28 mirrors or something, or 20 plus mirrors to try to make this and never got the last suffix. So you could be in for a treat, or you could be just ending up bankrupt. Now, all of these items you may notice are all pseudo-link items, pretty much like this item is a pseudo-link item. And what I mean by that is you have socketed gems are supported by some other link. This one is a pseudo-link item. This one here is the exception in that it's just a weapon. And then this one here is another, well, whoops, what am I doing? But this one here is also another pseudo-link item if you go for the 11-link variant. And lastly, you have the minion helmet, which is another pseudo-link item. So all of these items give you more links. And what does more links give you? It gives you more damage. Every single link is like a 30 to 40% damage multiplier. So if you have 11 links or 12 or 13 or 14 or 15 links, your skill is going to do an insane amount of damage. And another thing to note is that most of these mirror items are all catered towards builds that are extremely expensive to min-max and might have people who RMT for the items. Like Ore Stacker is an extremely expensive build. Lightning Strike is extremely expensive to min-max. Bow builds are always expensive. In-stack Wander is always expensive. Minion builds is probably the only one that's not so expensive, but you can spend a lot to min-max it. But hopefully this gives you a pretty good overview of what items most of the top tier crafters are looking to craft at League Start. And it kind of gives you an insight onto what these people spend all their currency on, because crafting these items is an expensive endeavor. Let me know down below in the comments if you would like to see any videos about how to craft some of these items, and maybe I can make one. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors, mage bloods, and apothecaries than me, and see you next time. Bye.